round with Austin Ward from Rivals. Austin, go ahead.
Hey, Ryan, I assume the intention last week was to try and maybe get Chip and Dallin more involved and not have to lean so heavily on Mayan. Maybe the tightness of the game and the conditions probably influence that. What do you need to see from those two to maybe give them an opportunity to spell either Mayan or Travion?
Yeah, I think you're exactly right. I think you hit it right on the head. It was a combination of all those things. I thought they had decent weeks of practice. So, we're going to try to play some depth this week at running back.
All righty. Next up, we'll go to Bill Landis from Rivals. Bill.
Hey, Ryan, a receiver's ability to be involved in the run game the way you have Emeka doing things right now, is that an ability that you try to evaluate in recruiting and that you look for? And if so, I guess, how did you evaluate that with Emeka when you guys were recruiting him?
No, I think it's a great question. When you look at wide receivers, you try to identify what style of receiver they are. And you kind of have the shorter, built low to the ground, Tyreek Hill types. Then you have the kind of the leaner, probably like a Chris Olave type. Then you kind of have one in between like Garrett. Then you have kind of the bigger, stronger, thicker ones like Emeka is and Julian. And then you kind of have the taller guy, more maybe like Marvin. So there's a lot of different styles, and each of them carry a different skill set to the table. And I think one thing that we recognized with Emeka, first off, was his strength and his power and his size, that he was going to be able to do some things that other guys can't do. And one of the things that Emeka brings to the table beyond his athleticism, his power, his ability to run, and his versatility is his strength. And when you're doing things like that, like Deebo Samuel is a great example of that for the, what he does in the run game. And, those are real weapons for an offense. And Emeka's shown that he can do that. And he's been durable and reliable. And I think that's a huge thing. And he's been a word for us this year.
All righty. Next up, Dan Hope, 11 Warriors.
Ryan, you've mentioned a couple times the difficulty of snapping the ball in the win last week. So how impressed were you with Mason and Jesse and how they handled that in the punting and kicking game?
We knew it was going to be a challenge. I didn't know it would be that much of a challenge, but they handled it well. They did a good job. And there's days where, we know that they're going to have to be on their A game, and you only get one shot to get it right. We practice in the elements. It's been very windy here the last couple of weeks, so we've had some opportunities. We had to deal with this and figure it out. There's times we're doing pooch drill on a Thursday, and they're having a hard time stopping the ball and different things like that. So we had seen them do it in practice, and so that was good. But to go put it on the field, and certainly Mason hasn't played a ton for us. That was good to see. So we're going to need him here. Consistency is the key, and all it takes is one bad snap, and you put yourself at risk. So I thought they handled the elements well.
All righty, next up, we'll go to Nathan Baird from Cleveland.com.
Hey, Ryan, I know we always try to parse every little detail that we see on those Wednesday night practices. It seemed like the offensive line was one of your last groups off of the practice field. Just curious what you saw from them this week in terms of that sort of self-accountability or which guys were stepping up and trying to, I guess, just find some solutions to the things you were talking about on Tuesday that you want to see improvement in.
Yeah, a very prideful group. Really a bunch of guys that want to be right, want to do well. And, Justin's done a great job building chemistry this year with them. And, they're working hard. They are. Nobody wants to play better than they are. I thought they had a good day yesterday, especially the second half of practice. So that was really encouraging. But they got to go put it on the field, and that's everybody. It's not just them. And I think everybody wants to be playing their best football right now. So, I'm not sure, what you're talking about after practice, what was going on, if Justin had him working on a couple extra things, but I know they're doing everything they can to be playing their best football here in the next couple of weeks. And we want to play well on Saturday.
Alrighty, next up, Jared Smalley, WCMA.
Ryan, two things for you. We talked to Marvin last night. First of all, have you or your staff ever had to go in to the Woody Hayes Center and kick him out and get him to just go home at some point? And the other question beyond that is his influence on the other guys in the room. You've spoken about it a little bit this year, but just a little bit more on how he has changed the standard of work and how that has been paying off on the field.
Well, I think Marvin, right from the beginning, came in with a mindset that he wants to be great. He's been blessed with some talent, for sure. There's no question about that. But his discipline and skill and work ethic has allowed him an opportunity to, see the way he's playing right now and be one of the better receivers in the country. But Marvin doesn't say a whole bunch, and maybe as he plays more and more and gets older, he'll start to speak up a little more because he deserves it. He deserves the right to do that. But he just goes to work. I think guys see it and they respect it, and they recognize that he's setting a standard for sure on what it's supposed to look like to be a great player and to be elite. But I also think Emeka's done the same thing. I think I mentioned it in the radio show today that Garrett Wilson gave a interview at one point and talked about how when those two guys came into the room, it challenged him to work harder and to look at how he was approaching his day-to-day operations and routines. So I think they've done a great job of that. They hold themselves to a high standard, and they're continuing to now build that for others. And so that that's the ultimate sign of leadership. So a lot of good there, and that room's strong.
All righty, let's go next to Stephen Means, Cleveland.com.
Brian, a little more, Emeka. I know that everybody in that room is learning all the positions, but what you actually put them in on game day is a little different.
Yep.
Whether it's him, whether it's Garrett, these guys who have moved around in that room and played different positions on game day, what are you trying to explore with these different skill sets that guys like Garrett and Emeka have that allow them to kind of move around from X, H, and Z? Yeah.
I think you try to decide early on where you want guys to start, and then you go from there. I think we felt like, Marvin was going to be our X. He's a bigger, longer guy who can win one-on-one situations. We felt like Emeka really was probably our most versatile guy. He could play on the outside for sure. You've seen him do that. He also can play inside. We felt like Jackson would be our slot this year. Did a great job last year. He's quick in short areas, and then we felt like Julian, was strong on the outside, could play on the inside if we needed him to. And so, you have a starting spot, or a starting place, and then you kind of build from there. You try to get your best, 2 or 3 guys on the field. And if you're just stuck at one position, then you're not able to get on the field if something were to happen in terms of injuries or personnel grouping. So the more those guys can learn, the more they can play.
Right. We'll go next to Tim May from Letterman Row. Tim.
Yeah, thanks. Thanks, Michael. I was wondering, Ryan, I would think you guys drilled big time this week on 3rd and short, both for the offensive side and the defensive side. And when they go against each other, what leaves you more with a smile on your face, if you follow my drift? I mean, if your defense is successful, you're worried about your offense and vice versa. But as the head coach, I guess what did you see this week, and what makes you feel good about going into Saturday in that regard?
I think, we worked hard on a lot of things, and certainly that's something we always work hard on, and we'll continue to do that. But when the offense goes against the defense in those type of situations, the thing you're looking for is, the one-on-one situations in terms of, who's winning the one-on-one battles, because ultimately that's what it comes down to. Yeah. And it's not so much the schematics. That's a whole different deal. And typically we're not scheming against the offense or the defense. What we're doing is trying to get better at the fundamentals and pad level, because ultimately that's what's going to matter, especially in those type of situations. The guy who's lower, the guy who can get movement, the team who, will run over the extra defender in the box, will come down and block. Those type of things are the ones who are going to be successful. So you're not always looking to see exactly, who wins the drill, but looking to see who wins the one-on-one matchups, because ultimately that's going to lead to the game and moving guys. There was a point in the game where I didn't think we did that. So we got to get our pads lower, and we got to move people. And so that's what we focus on more than anything.
And did you like what you saw this week? I mean, did you like it?
Yeah. I mean, there was some good things. Yep. There was an edge to it. It's week 10. And so, we still wore pads on Tuesday and Wednesday, and we're cut out a couple things, but not much. I mean, we're going to keep pounding on this thing because we know how important it is to be physical and tough here in November.
Thanks, man.
Yep.
All right. I got time for just a couple more. We'll go to Joey Kaufman, Columbus Dispatch.
Ryan, a follow-up on Emeka. What do you see as his best attribute, skill set as a pass catcher, somebody who can make plays for you guys in the vertical passing game?
I think that's probably what makes him unique, is that there isn't maybe just one thing. I think he's certainly very intelligent, so he knows how to set up a defender. He knows how to work a defense, knows how to win against one-on-one. He's got good hands and strength. He's tough. He's powerful. He can separate because he's, really those strides are long and strong and powerful. He does have good quickness, so good spatial awareness. I mean, he's kind of got a lot of those traits, and so I don't know if there's one thing in particular. Certainly has speed and everything you look for, and good hands. So I think that's probably what makes him the most unique, is that he has a lot of those skills.
Alrighty, next up, Tony Girdman, Buckeye Huddle.
Ryan, I guess maybe going along with some of those one-on-ones, talking with Luke about some of the plays that fell short, he said, so usually just it's one thing. And so the good news is it's only one thing, but the bad news is it's consistently one thing. How does a coach view that? How do you view that when it's one thing, only one thing, but it's always one thing?
Yeah, that means it's not working. That's not football. Football is all 11 guys operating as one, and everyone has to do their job. It's like being on an assembly line. One guy doesn't do their job. It doesn't work that way. So, that's the ultimate recognition of not doing our job as a group. So everybody has to be accountable. Everybody has to do their job. And when that's happening, then we're succeeding. So everybody has to take ownership of that and make sure that they're doing their part.
Thanks.
Already two more. First one to Spencer Holbrook. Spencer?
Ryan, Jim talked a lot this offseason and in camp about being ahead of schedule on the defense. Is there a metric that you can point to say that you guys are actually on schedule now as a defense 9 weeks into the season? And how do you evaluate now looking back on everything, whether you guys are on schedule where you wanted to be?
I don't think it really matters right now, like what on schedule, not on schedule. What matters is, do we reach our goals? So, there's no use in looking back right now or looking anywhere other than at Indiana and where we need to be, and trying to identify the issues that we're going to need to go reach our goals. That's where we're at. There's things that have happened. I think that we've grown. We've learned the defense. We've built confidence in the defense. I think our coaches have a better feel for our personnel and what they can and can't do. And so just trying to project out what that's going to look like here over the next few games. And that's where it's at, because, we know that we're graded and ultimately evaluated based on what happens here in November.
All righty. And last question, Bill Rabinowitz, Columbus Dispatch.
All right. You haven't needed to use Jesse Merkel a lot, which is always good for a team, but he's been quite effective. What stands out to him, or stands out about his performance this year? He's only had 5 touchbacks, only 5 kicks returned at all. How important has he been?
Jesse, you're talking about?
Jesse Merkel,
yeah. Yeah. Well, in the tighter games, he becomes more and more of a weapon for us. Like you said, a great day for Jesse is when he goes out there once or twice and we win big. But when it's a close game, it's a matchup game, it becomes a field position game. Those punts become really important. And we've been in games already this year. We've had to do that. We've had to play field position, and when you can gain those 10, 20, 30 yards on a punt. And Jesse's done a nice job, but it's also been our punt team, the gunners, the operation, the protection. And when you can do that, then, you send out our defense, you get a stop, maybe a 3 and out, and then you get the ball back. Now you've gained a bunch of field position, puts the offense, closer towards midfield. And then the statistics and numbers show that you got a better chance of scoring a touchdown. So, you've been around a long time to know that that's the vital field position in close games. And so in those close games, that's where he's had to step up. And so far he's done that, but we're going to need him here again over the next month.
Thanks for pointing out that I've been there a long time.
All right, Coach. Thank you. We'll talk to you Saturday.